So, KZN Commissioner of Police, Major General Konazi, opened up a can of worms when he said that the high-profile task team that was set up to investigate criminal activity amongst politicians and senior people has been closed down on the orders of the Minister of Police, Senzo Mchunu, and his deputy, Shadrack Sabia. Now, it was done in quite dramatic fashion. To anybody that saw it, we had Konazi flanked by people wearing more military-style fatigues than police outfits. In actual fact, it had some resonance with some of the coups we've seen up in West Africa, in Gabon, and we've seen, what's his name, Traore, look all very military with guys behind you with face masks and sunglasses, all very theatrical. Needless to say, the minister has not quite denied it, but certainly said, this thing, nobody will question our integrity, blah, blah, the usual ANC stuff, which is usually code for, we know what he's talking about, but we're not going to say it in public. This will definitely have some way to run and comes at quite a bad time for President Ramaphosa. So what exactly did he accuse them of? He accused the Minister of Police and the Commissioner of Police and his deputy. The Commissioner, remember, is Fani Masemola, Deputy Shadrack Sabia, Minister Senzo Mchunu, of removing 121 case dockets on their orders. Now, these were people, high-profile politicians, and their, the usual sort of tender mob that have benefited from dodgy government contracts and were under investigation. And the talk was that they were getting quite close to making arrests when these dockets were suddenly removed and the case was thrown down. Now, I want to focus on two things. One is Mkhonazi's growing role, which I think has got some good sides and some bad sides. And then later on, let's talk about crime within the ANC. So let's talk about Mkhonazi. He is gaining a bit of folklore status. Why? Because he is the only policeman prepared to do his job. We know that he's been skating right on the edge of the cliff with some shootouts with criminals, that basic kind of thing of the arrest warrant is in this, next bullet coming your way. And, in a country so starved of law enforcement, that is very, very attractive. And it's great to see a commissioner taking the fight against crime seriously. And that's a good thing. Let's not forget that we all want the criminal justice system to work. The danger, of course, is that we go full-on vigilante, and that has its own problems. So it puts the country in quite a difficult position. Do we think this is a good thing? Do we think this is a bad thing? We do want some law enforcement, but on the other hand, Mkhonazi is getting quite close to that vigilante look about his conduct. Now, in a country so as badly led and let down as South Africa, it could be quite intoxicating, the idea of having a young guy who's prepared to take the fight against corruption, to the streets. It's almost like a movie, like a Hollywood movie where, the one clean cop trying to clean out the place. So I think it's a good thing, and we can all understand why it's just so very, very, very appealing to South Africans, myself included. But I think it does come with a health warning. We don't want these things to get out of control, because we've seen what happens in countries where we think, that might is right. So I think we've got to be a little bit careful about just how much we lionize the fact that he is doing this job, but it is getting fairly close to that vigilante line, and, under the circumstances, understandable, but in the long run, not necessarily a good thing. But let's look quickly at crime ANC style. we've said this many times, that's an organization, the ANC, that cannot exist without crime. We see it from corruption, from soft corruption, as we're seeing, for example, in the SETAs, to hard corruption, construction mafias, etc., where the poacher turns into the gamekeeper. And this is the soft, weak underbelly of the ANC. You don't have to look too hard to find corruption. You don't have to look too hard to find the corruptors and the corruptees. They don't even hide it very well. Why? Because for at least 20 years, they haven't had to hide it particularly well, because in most cases, the police have been complicit in those crimes. So where do we go to next? Well, I think if this thing gets messy enough, President Ramaphosa will act. You know how he's going to act? He's going to call for a investigation, or one of those famous boards of inquiry into safety and security, and you'll try and throttle it under bureaucracy. I think that if we are going to have a policeman or criminal justice system where they are going after crime, my lord, they're going to not stop. The interesting thing about this Konazi thing is that it happens in Gauteng, and we know which politicians are very prominent in Gauteng. We know what the head of Gauteng looks like. We also know what the former head and current deputy presidents, what the rumor mill says about them. We'll have to see what comes of this, but all I can say is get the popcorn. This is going to be very interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see if President Ramaphosa, who was unbelievably active and quick to fire DA Deputy Minister Andrew Whitfield for going abroad without the president's express permission, what will he do if it turns out that his Minister of Police has sent messages to say stop cases against corruption? Will our president act? Buy the popcorn, but don't hold your breath. President not that good at acting, but we'll soon see where this leads. A very, very interesting bit of news. I've got a feeling we'll be talking about this again. Thank you for joining me.